Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
And I'm Rangru. Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, we're going to give you a little bit of love over here from Siedlce. Coming to you actually on SD2 material from a charity tournament. So Ryan, tell us all about that as well as who's duking it out and what they're bringing to the front.
On the left-hand side in the blue, we have ourselves the God Emperor playing as the 1st Romanian Cavalry Division, I believe. Or Armor Division, actually, my bad. Right-hand side in the red, we have Dark Neutron playing as the 15th Scots, God Emperor playing with Balance, and Neutron with Maverick. These replays for today and on Thursday will be from the Steel Division 2 second charity tournament hosted on the SD2 boot camp. It's for the Action Against Hunger charity. It's a very worthwhile cause. We're going to have links to it in the description down below. But yeah, it's good to see another charity tournament like this come up once again and, you know, have playing the game for a good time and also hopefully helping people out because they've already raised over $1,000 so far, so been pretty successful.
Yeah, you know, it's stuff like that honestly, it's all community driven, and it just makes me really feel proud to be part of this community, you know? It's a really great thing.
It's great to see. But this is a pretty interesting matchup game, right? Being Scots versus Romanians. I don't think a matchup you'd really think historically, but I mean, the Scots, of course, with the rifle spam, are really going to be the key point to victory, but the Romanians also have some pretty decent infantry under their belt, and of course, Panzer IVs and Churchills will be an interesting matchup.
However, there is one error that I don't think that the Romanians here are really going to have too much luck, and that's actually in the air. I realize, of course, we're not seeing the legendary Spitfires, but Typhoons, the ground attack planes, I think are going to be much better placed to go up against the JRSs that we'll see in Phase B, as well as basically the Ju-87s, and I would even argue the outmatched Me-109s.
Yeah, those Typhoons are very lovely aircraft, very reliable, and have a pretty good armament for getting into a fight as well. And definitely, like, as we've seen so much of Scots, they really rely on using airplanes and artillery to really beef up their frontline fire support, because those riflemen just can't really do all that much, you know, shooting by themselves. They're really just meat shields.
And we're kind of seeing the first evidence of that up to the north, as Pionieri, as well as the Venatori Moto, are now going to get pounded by the Typhoon. And see, that's the kind of talk that you just mentioned, and I think that's the proof is in the pudding at this point. Have the rifles on the back foot, bomb comes in, and now they are running home to mama.
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect bombing run, yeah. That really is just slipped a momentum up north here for Dark Neutron as he can push on through. I think the Pioneers are going to be able to fall back and be able to recruit and re-attack. So that's just going to buy Mr. Neutron a little bit of time for now.
So I saw was that mortar fire to the north? Yeah, I think it was. I don't think it was the IG-18. The arc seemed all wrong for it. Maybe I was...
I think it was the IG-18. It was just... No, it wasn't.
I think it's the mortar. Yes, the mortar.
Oh yeah, it's the mortar. That is a mortar.
So we've been agitating for stovepipes. We're finally getting them. I'm thrilled as all get out to see them. Oh, wait, down south we're going to see a bit of a minor push here. The Churchills are going to go and break this up, as the SPWs are not going to be able to do anything against that.
Yeah, those Churchills are a very good tank in this case. So the Panzer IV's going to have a little bit of a hard time penetrating it, and even then, I mean, they don't have just the Churchills, we also have a bloody 17-pounder backing them up, and with the new range changes, the 17-pounder is a very deadly piece of kit.
It certainly is. I think I'm also kind of fascinated to watch as these flame troops are going to try to fight off these rifles. It's not going to go well. But I suppose that's what happens when you have guys that are outnumbered literally 10 or 15 to 1.
Yeah.
Typhoon, in the meantime, he's going to go and bomb that mortar out of existence, and yeah, you see already, the ME-109, like, you would think that a 20 mil and two 13 mils would be more than enough to see off a single Typhoon, but jeez, those 20s are just murder.
Yeah, the Messerschmitts aren't that great. I mean, really, Fokker fighters are ready to go if you have access to them, and as you can see, Typhoon is going to be able to zip on by, as the Messerschmitt cannot chase down the Typhoon. But hey, he's going to actually stay on the field, and I mean, does have 4 20mm cannons. He can start strafing stuff if he so desires. So no, he's going to evac, which is probably the safe move.
Not that he really needs to. I mean, yes, his troops in the north are getting pounded by that mortar, but it's a holding force up top. The real, beef is down here in the south. 4 rifle squads, including a Piat, I mean, for all that's going to do. Churchill's got a Willys MMG, he's a rifle leader. He's just taking out the last Romanian infantry within, about a click of the middle of the map on either side?
Yeah. And there we go, we got a bunch of flags going to be flipping over the Dark Neutron, still keeping at 14-10. And this is very interesting how the southern side has developed, because in the far south, God Emperor has managed to make some, I was about to say godly advances, but maybe not push it out far. But at the same time, Dark Neutron holding that little farm complex here is really putting a dent in God Emperor's supply lines, and also just being able to shoot long range of the Churchill, which I believe got blown up, yeah, because it's only the fire support run, and it's not that good dealing fire support against heavily armed, well, medium armored tanks.
Well, and while we did see the first, Romanian 4s, I shudder to call them P4s, they did go down, but they did take out the 17 pounder before they did.
Oh, yeah. That's a good kill.
Which is not, yeah, exactly. It's not an inconsiderable kill here. I think, though, to really kind of reverse the momentum, you need to bring something heavier to take out, obviously, that Churchill 7, and I don't know what the heck Romanians are going to do for that.
You do have access to the big 75mm anti-tank gun, which is probably going to be its best bet, because that thing, as you can see the run up north, does have sufficient armor penetration to blow it up. Not perfect, but it's enough. The Rosita AC.
Yes.
I probably said that completely wrong, but that's the norm with Rangru.
Oh my gosh. Guys, if you know there's a P out there, you don't drive your vehicles within 200 meters of the complex. And forgive me.
Did he down south?
Yep, to the recon cars go down, and for a recon car, you think they would see it coming.
You would think so, Khan, but they're just very focused on doing that reconnaissance somewhere else.
Clearly. And, 17 pounder down to the south goes down. Does not even come off the truck.
Yes, both of the AFA 17 pounders down. Just definitely gonna give God Emperor a little bit of breathing room here. And he's doing pretty well in his armor engagements, apart from losing those armored cars, of course. But here we go, Typhoon's coming in, and I'm loving this heavy airplay here from Dark Neutron. We don't see it all that often, really, when you see 15th. People just really like to focus on the infantry spam, but Dark Neutron is not exactly going as infantry spammy and actually investing in the important fire support units. Absolutely.
Actually, one thing I would like to see a little bit more of, and I know I just complained about that at the opening of this replay, I want to see this Ju-87, so I feel like that's the way the Romanians can actually fight back. Of course, that's a proviso that you do bring in a little bit of those 25 mil anti-air pieces, so the AAA pieces might be the only way he's going to continue to be very competitive. 75 mil to the south was engaged in the Churchill, but getting pounded back to the Stone Age by the Typhoon, and I think there's another one's coming right now.
Yeah. And that Typhoon that just dropped bombs also shot down a Messerschmitt as well, so yeah, these Typhoons are absolutely deadly. He's going to be knocking out the AT gun with that strafing bomb and run, and yeah, he's getting those high value targets down and out of the battle, because those Rositas are the only things that can reliably kill the Churchills that long range. Not super reliably, but yeah.
No, but at least acceptably,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than the T4s or the TAs.
That doesn't look like any teaching assistant I ever had back at uni. I don't know about you. I was actually going to ask if they had those in the Canadian uni, but that seems an educational tangent for another time. It's always sad to me that the Stug, Romanian Stug, essentially what was all that this is, that the Romanian Stug is a more viable weapons platform than the P4. And I know a good chunk of that is just because that frontal armor is just so successful, but it always smacks so strangely,
Yeah, the Stug is quite a nice unit. Now, I would say It's kind of weird what is better, the Stag or the Panzer IV. I would, in this sort of engagement here, the Stag is definitely the better choice, but just because of the extra frontal armor, especially against 75mm guns that Churchill's has, does increase its survivability by quite a bit, but of course, Panzer IV turret can be pretty clutch in close quarters, and as well as having another machine gun. But we are going to be seeing one of those Junkers being brought out, Khan. I think he's going to get the bombs off, but I don't think he's going to be able to make it back if his Typhoon has something to say about it.
No, and in the meantime, actually, we did see that P4 going down. Junkers is going to go in. He's going to get the bombs off. But yeah, he's totally dead.
Holy crap. I've not... With all these Typhoons being brought in, Khan, you'd be mistaken that Dark Neutron is playing 6 Airborne.
Yeah, but you know what? The Red Devils, I don't think, would be able to... be that successful. 6-pounder taking out that Command Stoke to the south. And I think this Typhoon is going to make another run at this 25mm. Jeez. This has just been an absolutely gut-wrenching experience for the Romanians today.
Got another Typhoon as well. Holy crap. It is hurricane season over here in Siedlce.
I was thinking it was more of like a kamikaze moment, like a divine wind, but I'm pretty sure the God Emperor right now is just getting his wind broken.
Yeah.
In the meantime, these mortars are valiantly trying to hold the front line, and again, love the mortar play. I think, unfortunately, just right now, yeah, you can see the panic buy-ins of the 25mm down to the south as they're trying to establish a fire-free zone. Were it me, I feel like my point is, I know I'm getting pounded in the south. Let's push the north. Maybe go through where this flame trooper is still hanging out. I know the prevailing wisdom would be you don't want to go between that saddle and the water. But if they go up to the forest to see you, they're going to be seen in the meantime too, so...
Frankly, what God Emperor needs to do, I mean, he's down 816. He needs to actually go through the saddle and the water because it is such a command flag rich area that he needs to stop this +2 bleed by just moving some units here. As we see, it's just the rifles and the Panzer Grenadier to hold his entire sector, but throw in a tank and maybe another infantry in it, and he could at least capture a few flags to slow us down. But I think just the constant Typhoon play is just really forcing his attention and dealing with these bloody aircraft.
You know what? I think you're right. Unfortunately, bloody, I think, is actually probably the more perfect term to describe them. They're covered in all of the blood, of those brave Romanians. Jeez. The squads of the Moto troops up to the north didn't even get to the front lines. Typhoon came in, one bomb, took out a squad. Like this is a massacre, and it's not because God Emperor is doing anything necessarily wrong. It's just that Dark Neutron's air power has just been on point.
Yeah, it's just been really role-placed bombing runs. We're on the B phase now, so God Emperor does have access to some better anti-aircraft units, and by God, he's going to need them. But as we've seen, those Messerschmitts have just not been up to the task in dealing with those Typhoons. So, yeah, God Emperor is in a pretty bad position so far. And Dark Neutron, he still has those Churchills out in the field. And he hasn't been too aggressive with them. He doesn't need to. He's got the +2 point advantage. But they're pretty much blocking God Emperor from actually making any ground pushes happen because, well, I'd say if he moves up any tanks, but he has no tanks, so they're all dead, Khan.
Would you say that he's having trouble with this because he's fighting chaos, and chaos by its very nature is hard to fight as the God Emperor?
Yeah, I think that's true. This is probably one of those titanic struggles before the Age of Strife.
That's true. You know what? I hadn't even thought about the Age of Strife, but you're absolutely right. Typhoon, in the meantime, stepping into another attack run at 75mm, and yeah, again, 3 of these 25mm can't keep this out of bay.
Even just a light bomber Typhoon,
Jeez.
one hit kills the anti-tank gun. We've seen, the 25s, as you said. I mean, they're not good at preventative anti-aircraft measures, and even then, just... Yeah, I feel like God Emperor's just been screwed over a bit with his deck. He just does not have the anti-air or the airplane firepower to just deal with the Typhoon. Joe, he is neutralizing it a bit now. It's only down to a +1 disadvantage for him, and I feel like he could still make some maneuvers through the center here, but yeah.
I think that's incidental though. I think that's, hey, I pulled in several squads of Panzer Grenadiers. Yeah, here we go. Watch that shrink back again the other direction. We'll go back to a 15-9.
It's just constant typhoons. I know this past 5 minutes has just been commentary on typhoons. But that's because they're the only unit that's coming out.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's just, there hasn't been a break.
Well, and it leads me to kind of wonder, is this the way then to play Scots, or is it just been the luck of the draw against the Romanians?
No, it's sort of really interesting Scots play. Like, I love this quite a lot, just due to it's really bloody effective with the air power. And he got it out early on enough where he could build up at air supremacy, and now it's at a point where the God Emperor just cannot build up effectively an anti-aircraft net or airplane net to deal with it. The Inquisitor is going to come in. Really kill a tank? Oh,
nope.
No.
Barely hit his sniper on
No. I'm gonna hope that was a direct fire order.
Yeah.
He completely missed out Churchill, and with so many typhoons, yeah, he can't really risk it. But fortunately, the Hotchkiss is actually going to save the Junkers. And we are seeing some 37 mils being brought in now, but I mean, he also doesn't have any heavy anti-aircraft guns in his stack, which will be better for preventative of those typhoons. But even then, he's invested so much in anti-air right now. Yeah, his front line down south is collapsing.
Yes, it is. And I was taking a look back at the decks over here. It's weird to see that the Scots actually surrender the numbers in infantry to the Romanians. If anything, the Romanians hold parity or supremacy in nearly every single deck breakout. The only one that they don't, at least in my kind of quick estimation here, is the support tab, which is insane. Yeah. It's insane. Like the Scots are not playing as the Scots even at all. I guess the question I was asking you before though is this a deck that works against your 5th Panzers, your 21st Panzers, and things like that, or is this just, hey, it's the Romanians, we get to kind of knock on them as much as we want to?
That's a pretty good point. Because he does have a lot of the heavy pretty much this anti-tank tab is just 17-pounders, really. But his deck is, as you're saying, is completely reliant on constant Typhoon bombing runs, and just the amount of investment is working out, and he's actually just trying to bomb the anti-aircraft pieces now and knock him out one by one systematically, focusing fire on one anti-aircraft gun in that run. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't have as much infantry, but he is taking them with the 1-star infantry base to try to get a little bit more out of him, which is a smart initial playstyle, because here's the Typhoons are going to be taking up a little bit of points from spamming rifles. But I'd be curious to see how this would work against a non-Romanian division, because the Romanians are pretty mediocre, let's be honest here. So I feel like that is also hurting God Emperor quite a bit. Especially in this matchup with his anti-air and airplanes, really quite bad.
Yes, I think...
Like, not having those Focke-Wulfs is hurtful, but sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to completely agree with you. I think aggressively mediocre is a fair way to put it. I really do love the pluck in the Romanian division. I like to see such a, the strong infantry tab is a wonderful thing. Unfortunately, just that as you go into later and later into the game, you need to consistently have troops that are both can hit hard at a distance and have the anti-tank. And really, when you look at their weapon breakout, it's not stellar in my mind. I mean, the ZV-30, more or less is a light machine gun. That's great. I don't know. I just even their anti-tank infantry is just not fantastic.
Yeah, and the main advantage with the Romanians is that they do have that lovely it's such a good anti-tank gun at a 75mm, but Dark Neutron has just been constantly neutering him at every single opportunity here, and that is what is really keeping his Churchills alive and pushing up, because the rifles push up, Churchills back him up, pretty standard infantry tank tactic plays. And yeah, also the 17-pounders, I like how he keeps them close to the Churchill. Yes, it seems a bit silly keeping them out in the open, but they're pretty much an external gun of the Churchill. They couldn't mount it onto the Churchill. They tried at the end of the war, but it didn't really work. So you just have it towed behind.
And you know what though? That's in my mind still that's the way of taking historical play and adapting it to this computer game. I think that's a great decision.
And also with how slow the Churchill moves, you can even keep up with it with 17-pounders just walking.
I hadn't even thought about that, but you're right, aren't you?
Probably pretty close, but yeah, I mean, this is pretty obvious Dark Neutron has got the victory here, but even though this was a little bit of a blowout, this is such an interesting raid that we've seen Scots being played. This is really cool. I hope to see a sort of like deck playstyle in the future, because it's fun to see just the constant bombing runs being brought in. Like, it's fun just seeing a lot of like powerful airplay in a 1v1.
Well, it's just fun for me to look at at a division that I thought I'd seen everything of. Like, again, you and I, we looked at the divisions beforehand. We do it every single time we have a cast here, and it's standard Scots. There we go. But there was nothing standard about the way that this pressure was applied.
Yeah.
So just being surprised after the game's been out for as long as it has, that to me is the really fun part.
Yeah, and especially for the amount of divisions are in the game and all the customization, you can build some pretty crazy playstyles such as this. But yeah, I mean, the Junkers.
No, I wasn't even thinking the Junkers. I was actually thinking that, hey, look, the Churchill in the south finally went down. Or a Churchill.
Yeah, but there's many more Churchills. He's actually going to be doing a Junkers run on the Humble Mark III, because it's the only safe target for him to bomb on. And it doesn't even kill it.
Oh,
okay.
no, it does.
There we go, but he's going to lose the Junkers because he does not have the air supremacy here. And I definitely think in a 1v1 deck, whenever you can, I'm not completely familiar with the first Romanian's other aircraft options, but I'd say you'd always want at least 2 cards of fighters, or like at least fighter bombers, at least, just for this situation if your opponent gets a lot of bloody aircraft in the sky.
That really is their downfall, isn't it? This MV-109, brave as all get out, but dude, like, you're trailing oil. Like, get out of there, please.
Yeah. He really does not have the, like, only the 20 mil and a 13 mil, 2 13 mils. It's a pretty recombinant full fighter plane of this. Well, I guess if it's a Russian fighter plane, that'd be pretty standard, but against bloody Russian aerial supremacy, it's not enough.
Not even remotely. But you know what? I think we should take this to a ×2 here.
Yep,
Let's get 22-15.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. But God Emperor, again, dude, not trying to rag on you. I love seeing the Romanians. I think they're a fun division. I don't think they have the legs against a lot of the other more, let's say, more prominent divisions here.
Yeah, it was just a pretty unorthodox strategy from Scots, but it worked, as we clearly saw.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh my gosh. In the meantime, though, so 19-5, as you kind of expect over here. I imagine the kills are going to be pretty one-sided. We do see a crocodile to the north, actually in its natural habitat of the swamps.
Oh yeah.
The swamps of Poland, not really what I was expecting, but you know.
Holy crap! Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that was due to the airplane.
Well, I imagine we'll find out pretty quickly. So one Typhoon has 4 kills. Another Typhoon has 4 kills, including 1 of the air. 2 more Typhoons have 4 kills between them. So, shockingly enough, not that many.
No, but he did manage to knock out the important units such as the aircraft, as well as the anti-tank guns, which allowed the Churchills and the infantry to slowly move up through. And then losses, it's not... Unfortunately, God Emperor didn't manage to get too much of a ground game going on there, but... I mean, I don't know what else to really say about that match. I mean, very interesting play. I'm curious to see how that matchup will play against, other better meta divisions, so to speak.
Yes, and perhaps saying other better is a little even unfair right there. But like you said, more meta divisions, I think we'll definitely see whether or not the Scots can drink their way out of a barrel here.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think that's going to about do it for us today. Any final thoughts there, sir?
Nope.
Well, folks, in that case, then, until Thursday, I'm Connell Work.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.